The founder of Telegram, Pavel Durov, was arrested in France, being accused of turning the popular messaging app into a haven for criminal activity through lax content moderation. What does Durov's arrest mean for the future of Telegram and its approach to content moderation? A new wave of cyber attacks is exploiting the stealthy AppDomain manager injection technique to deploy CobaltStrike beacons, hitting government agencies, the military, and energy sectors across Asia, with possible links to the APT41 group. There is a newly discovered critical vulnerability in SolarWinds web help desk that's putting IT systems at risk just a week after another severe flaw was patched. How can administrators quickly secure their systems against this new SolarWinds vulnerability? And finally, CISA is set to consolidate its workforce into a $524 million state-of-the-art headquarters on DHS's St. Elizabeth's West Campus by 2027. You're listening to the Daily Decrypt. Pavel Durov, the mastermind behind the popular messaging app Telegram, was arrested in France on Saturday. French authorities apprehended him due to a preliminary investigation focusing on Telegram's lack of content moderation. They're claiming that Telegram has become a hotbed for criminal activities like drug trafficking, child pornography, money laundering, and fraud, due to its hands-off approach towards content moderating. Criminals have found it to be a perfect place to roam freely and use it specifically in cybersecurity to distribute malware, organize cyber attacks, and sell stolen data. Guard.io Labs reported earlier this year that Telegram is now a bustling marketplace for illicit tools and victim data, creating a dark and efficient supply chain. With over 950 million monthly users, Telegram recently evolved into a super app, adding features like an in-app browser and mini app store. But this growth comes with a responsibility to ensure user safety and content moderation, right? So why should you care about this? Well, as far as I know, nothing like this has ever taken place before. And I know the laws in Europe are a bit different than they are here in the United States, because the United States is largely unregulated when it comes to internet communications, right? Basically, here in the United States, anything anyone says on your platform does not come back to you legally, which is why things like social media have come into existence, because people can create them and connect other people and allow them to say whatever they want. Content moderation on places like Facebook or Twitter are essentially left up to the discretion of the company themselves. They're widely unregulated. And so these platforms end up moderating because they think it'll be better for their business, not because they have to, right? And we've seen that recently with Twitter or X kind of loosening their reins on content moderation, allowing people to say more and more things. So it is likely that we won't see any sort of crackdown on those CEOs or the creators of those platforms in the United States. But it will be interesting to see how those platforms evolve in countries and regions that do take communication preferences and privacy much more seriously, like the European Union. And there's also a bit of an ethical dilemma here too, right? If someone inadvertently creates a tool that is used for crime, are they on the hook for that? I think that's the case that France is trying to make with this arrest. But legally, at least here in the United States, the answer is no. If you do create a tool with the intent of it being used for crime, now that's a different story and the FBI will have words with you. But if you're just creating a tool with its purpose not related to crime at all, you're pretty much free and in the clear. And there's a couple of really good Darknet Diaries episodes that talk about the creation of a phone that is focused around the privacy of the users, that uses encrypted technologies and cell towers and app isolation and all of that with the intent to be used for crime. And that basically devolved into the FBI threatening the creator so much that the creator ended up working with the FBI and selling the data to them in exchange for, their freedom, that ended up closing a lot of crime rings, right? Like, it's a very interesting story, but it relates closely to this in the sense that if you create a tool specifically for crime, you're going to get busted. But if it accidentally is being used for crime, you're free and in the clear. hackers now deploy a stealthy technique called AppDomain Manager Injection to drop CobaltStrike beacons. So what is AppDomain Manager Injection? This technique weaponizes any Microsoft .NET application on Windows by leveraging the .NET Framework's AppDomain Manager class. And unlike traditional DLL sideloading, it injects malicious code more stealthily, making detection pretty challenging. So here's a high level about how this attack works, right? Attackers will prepare a malicious DLL inheriting from the AppDomain Manager class. They create a config file that redirects the loading of legitimate assemblies to this DLL. And when the .NET application runs, the malicious DLL executes within legitimate apps context, evading security measures. And so since January of 2024, hackers have targeted government agencies in Taiwan, the military in the Philippines, and energy organizations in Vietnam, where these attacks often end with a CobaltStrike beacon deployment, enabling further malicious actions. And since this one is very hard to detect using traditional tools like Microsoft Defender, the best piece of advice is to keep your apps up to date, especially your security apps, but also to continue doing threat hunting activities within your organization while continuing to listen to news podcasts or get your news about what the most recent threats are so that you know what to look for. So if you're in a position to do those threat hunts, check out the link in the show notes below by Bleeping Computer for more indicators of compromise that you can look for in your own environment. SolarWinds just patched another critical bug in their web help desk software following last week's fix of a code injection to RCE vulnerability that was also patched. So here's what you need to know. This new flaw, being tracked as CVE 2024-28987, involves hard-coding credentials that attackers can misuse to access internal functions and modify data, which puts your entire system at risk. This vulnerability was reported by Zach Hanley from Horizon.ai after investigating the previous flaw, which is already being actively exploited. To patch this, SolarWinds released Web Help Desk 12.8.3 Hotfix 2, which addresses both vulnerabilities and fixes an SSO issue and a bug affecting the client application's functionality. If you're a SolarWinds admin, it's crucial to implement this fix immediately. It's also worth noting that this update requires some manual steps, which is detailed in SolarWinds knowledge base article. It's also worth mentioning that this update will require a few manual steps, which will be detailed in the SolarWinds knowledge base article alongside this update. And finally, CISA, which is the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, is getting a brand new $524 million headquarters in Washington, D.C. Construction will start this fall and is supposed to wrap up by 2027. Currently, CISA's workforce is scattered across 5 different offices in Arlington, Virginia. This decentralization slows down communications and collaboration. The new facility at the St. Elizabeth's West Campus aims to solve that by putting all of the experts under a single roof, ready to tackle digital threats more efficiently. This will mean faster response times, streamlined operations, and ultimately a stronger defense against cyber attacks. At least that's what they're hoping. The new 630,000 square foot building will house specialized areas designed to bolster CISA's response to emerging threats. And for some more specifics on what this new building will encompass and contain, check out the link from gsa.gov in our show notes that will outline these features. But the main point is that there is an investment in cybersecurity's future at the government level, which should just give us a little beacon of hope.
This has been the Daily Decrypt. If you found your key to unlocking the digital domain, show your support with a rating on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It truly helps us stand at the frontier of cyber news. Don't forget to connect on Instagram or catch our episodes on YouTube. Until next time, keep your data safe and your curiosity alive.